So we're going to have a conversation as we do on Sundays. And the sort of general topic is what gives you confidence? And we're going to start with what gives you confidence in your meditation practice, and maybe even particularly in reflective meditation. Because a lot of people would say about reflective meditation, like, what? You're just like letting things go on? How can you have confidence in that?
Right. Right. And we're waiting for people to tell us how they have confidence in that. I mean, this is part of the interesting relationship we find ourselves in with people who practice, is that we start to hear from you all what gives you confidence. And that's why we're asking directly today, might you see changes in yourself, somewhat subtle or maybe even large? Do you see changes in others? What is it that gives you confidence in the practice?
And I often speak about this, though this is how it comes across from me, which is I will be in a situation outside of meditation, but something that where I'd often have sort of a real, reaction or negative feelings or get really triggered, stirred up, and it doesn't happen. And I can see a direct through line to what I've been contemplating in my meditation.
Right. And it's kind of surprising when that happens because, again, similar to the practice being receptive, it's not like we're often, really directly telling ourselves, don't react, don't respond a certain way. But that kind of training has actually influenced the way we are in the world.
And, to even be more specific about that kind of training, I think it is that a certain kind of wisdom about the situation is developing as we keep churning internally about it. We're getting a little wiser, a little wiser, a little more clear, a little less, a little less, self and other, like, oh, react like because they're a jerk. Well, it's a little more complicated. Back to our teachings of conditionality, eh?
Right, right, right. And in some respects, I was thinking about this of kind of the, transition to what authorities we have confidence in. Like, do we become our own authority or internal authority, or at least a touchstone from what we can, rely on when we react? But there is this sense of where does our confidence lie then in authority? What has authority in our experience?
And what has authority in our views in life in
Life.
general.
Yeah.
And it really was a big wake-up call when I realized that so much of what I believe, even take about COVID, because it's a little not really in the past, but the big, terror about it is in the past. And, one group of people had confidence, and, the anti-vaxxers had confidence in their authorities telling them vaccines are very bad for them. It could lead to all kinds of problems. And I personally, probably many of you, had a lot of confidence and know these vaccines are going to keep us from getting really sick and dying. And that's a really good, so, but we can't know. We can't go to the test tube and run the scientific tests. We just had to trust the authorities we trusted.
Right. And that is a development to get more trustworthy authorities, to actually be more aware of, where we are placing our trust, and knowing that it's fallible. It's also not complete. And then knowing that, there's a lot of things we don't know. Even while we're taking action that looks like we have confidence, we may also have doubt or uncertainty along with it.
And maybe that's one of the bottom lines about what we have confidence in. We have confidence that we can move through life while we're also aware that there's so much we don't know. And yet we can't, just stay in our room with the door shut and not do anything, because that would be a big problem. So we have to have enough confidence to move into the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things, as Nellie and I were talking this morning, that we both are pretty afraid of is ignorance or lack of awareness. Like, this is something that's you know, really a showstopper, I would say. You know, it really is something that it's difficult to address. And how do we address it? How do we look at it? And did you have any more thoughts about that, Nellie?
Well, just as I heard you talking right now, I thought, well, we all have ignorance, right? But so it's not quite that black and white, but it's like really being wed to your ignorance that's scary, like, or really being wed to a view without having at least looked at it and, you know, studied it, so to speak. Just like, just being, I don't care. I'm not gonna, yeah. That's scary to me, especially when the ignorance is hurting other people.
Well, and
And
that's, oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and potentially myself, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the apathy, that lack of interest is is goes right into an ignorant self or view, or, like you said, something that arises that's so wed to the point of view. But I was looking at it also of how I feel when I hear that in a person that I'm speaking with or in myself. And it has a kind of a deadening quality, because it often leads to, how do I deal with it? Do I have to fight this? Do I have to re-educate? Do I have to become passive and just ignore it? Like suddenly I'm in this kind of dynamic of, I want to get away from it so badly. How do I do that?
Yeah, yeah. I had a thought, but
That's
it went away. It went with the breezes off into another land. Oh, I know. I could came back, which of course is probably why we're doing this practice and teaching this practice, right? Because this practice is all about gaining greater awareness about all kinds of things,
right,
whatever.
right,
And that's why this practice fits us.
right.
Um, and maybe not some other people who are looking for, let's say, more mystical experiences or leaving this worldly domain and going, to some other domain that's higher or more spiritual. We're pretty interested in getting more aware and less
Mm.
ignorant about this very life now.
Right. And if you're looking to have a meditation which is empty of talking or speech or thinking or conversations, one of the ways that I've seen this practice develop is that you start to have conversations with things in your sittings about what you mistrust, about what you're afraid of. It's a way to develop a tolerance for some of these things. And also, it goes in the direction of metta, of befriending them. It's just a much better stance to have with something I'm afraid of, is that I feel some friendliness towards it rather than the strong aversion that can come with it.
And of course, along with that, boundaries too. When it's too
Right,
much, it's too much.
right,
And then it's not the right time to befriend it.
right, right.
Should we end there?
I think we should, except for we do want to say that confidence, trust, and faith are considered strengths in the practice of meditation and reflective meditation.